So we got a question from Damon in the UK who recently just had his very first competition as a blue belt. And he says he took double bronze. Pretty awesome, brother. You got some hardware. It's pretty nice, right, for your first one. But it was his very first competition. And he says that in his first competition, what he noticed more than anything was the intensity level. It's not something that he's felt in his academy. And he's wondering how hard he should roll in his gym and how often he should roll hard in his gym. And again, I think that you're asking this question, Damon, because you want to match that intensity that you felt in that competition, right? You felt that intensity, you're like, whoa, that was so different. I need to be better prepared for that next time, so I'm going to ramp up the hard training in the gym. So let me draw a parallel to the situation before I get into it. So we have a lot of military guys that come into this gym from all over the place because we have a couple bases that are nearby, one of which being Fort Knox. And when they come in here, I ask people lots of questions. I really like to get to know people, like to know, who they are, where they're coming from. I find people fascinating. So if we ever meet, or if any of you guys watching this, if you ever see me out and you want to say hey, like at a tournament or something, please do. I know sometimes people feel kind of awkward like coming up and saying hey, or like, hey, you want to get a picture, but I don't care. Let's do it. And if I'm not running around at a tournament to like either coach my students or compete myself, I'll probably sit there and ask you lots of questions because I find people interesting. And so I'll ask these guys questions, and a lot of them have had some sort of battle experience. And with those people, I will ask them if they're comfortable talking about it, about what they're like the first time that they were found themselves in some sort of battle. What was that like? And kind of the reason why we're talking about this, because they'll talk about the training, they were prepared for the training, they did all this stuff, they knew they were going to be on the battlefield at some point, and they were prepared for that, right? And then one day they're on patrol and they're walking up some side of a mountain or whatever the heck's going on, right? And then all of a sudden, boom, gunshot goes off and they hit the dirt, and then they're going through the motions of, fighting back, but it's different. It's not the same. And a lot of times, whether this engagement that they're in is like 5 minutes or 5 hours, they're just exhausted afterwards. And again, they say that a lot of times, not everybody, by the way, this is just, a lot of the people that I've talked to, they'll say that, again, no matter how hard they prepared, how well they felt prepared, how much they had thought about this whole thing happening, they just could not prepare for this situation, being in this unseen land, this foreign land that they're in with all these different variables going on, and all of a sudden it happens. It's just different. And so with this, you went to this tournament, you felt the intensity, right? It felt different, right? And now you're like, okay, we need to try to match this intensity. And the thing is, I just don't believe that you can match the same level of intensity and stress that you feel in a competition inside of your gym. Now, don't get me wrong, you can roll with people in a tournament and just wax through them, and you're like, man, the guys in the gym are way tougher. That's true. But when you get in a good match, it's just different, especially if you're talking about like a really intense match with someone. You just can't match that in your gym, because in your gym, right, no matter how hard you get after it, you're around people you enjoy being around. You're with people that you probably feel like you're friends with, people that you like. They probably have a mutual concern for your safety. They want to make sure that you're healthy. And, you probably have a good relationship with the coaches. And it's a place, the actual environment itself is a place where you probably feel comfortable and safe. So no matter how hard you train, you can't pervert that. Whereas when you go to a competition, you're in a place where it's a new environment. You don't know these people. You've never rolled on these mats before. This is maybe a new environment completely. Maybe it's in a different city you've never been to. And then you get there, and then there's all these unforeseen circumstances that are popping up. Like, oh man, now they're shifting me on this mat. Oh, my gi's too short, so I have to get a new gi. And then, oh crap, my mat was supposed to happen 20 minutes ago, and now it's stopped or something. And I don't roll for another hour. So there's all these things going on. And then when you finally get out there, that person staring at you, they don't like you, at least for that time that you're rolling. They want to rip your head off, and they want to get that medal, right? So again, there's all these things going on, and that just ramps up the stress level and that intensity. So you can't really quite replace that. Now you can get ready for it and prepare for it as best you can, but it's going to be different. Just like a lot of the military guys that I've spoken to who prepared for it, and then when they had the first encounter with the enemy, it's a little different, right? Same thing for you when you get out there in those first competitions. It's just a little bit different, But the thing is, you went through that doorway, right? You went through it. The door shut behind you. You felt the intensity. You can't go back now. So here's what I would say with you, kind of going along with the same theme. You're asking how hard you should roll and how often you should roll hard. Well, that's going to change depending on you. And I don't want to give you a blanket answer, because depending on where you are for your training, that's going to depend. Now, I'm going to assume that you're talking about in relation to competitions, right? So with that, I'll share what I do now. Because when I was younger, I would just roll hard all the time because I was young and my body felt fine. I did it. Now, as I've gotten a little bit older, I try to be a little bit smarter with my training. And so typically 2 days a week, I'll have a really hard rolling session. when I'm getting ready for a competition. That's what I like, 2 hard rolling sessions a week. And I'm working during those rolling sessions on a very specific game plan. I'm not playing around. I'm not, allowing people to do anything to me. I'm basically working on my A game over and over and over again, no matter who I'm rolling with. Now, on the other days of the week, I'll do at least 2 days a week where I'm just kind of messing around. I'm just kind of flowing through things and giving myself a break from that hard training, right? Because again, no sport or athletic activity, no intelligently designed plan ever has max effort Monday through Friday. Like you don't train that hard every single day. You just can't. Your body's going to break down. So then I'll have some days where I'm just kind of messing around with stuff. And then I'll have usually at least a couple days a week where I'm doing an hour worth of drilling, at least an hour, where basically I'll pick someone out and, whatever day I'm doing, and I'll say, all right, here's the moves I'm going to do. I got 3 moves I want to work on today, and I'm going to drill these for at least an hour, and here you get to drill. And we just start the timer, and we just go. And that's what I like to do. I like to have some sort of mixture of hard rolling, light rolling, and then drilling. This way I kind of hit all the different bases. I get to play a little bit to sort of relax my mind. I get to get into that zoned in mindset and go after my techniques. And it's very important, if you're going to roll hard, you need to step on there with a game plan. Even having a game plan alone will give you sort of the appearance of having intensity, because you're going to be so direct with your techniques that a lot of times your opponents and your training partners are going to have to be reactionary. And then you mentioned in your message that you have to roll with a lot of white belts that are a little bit newer, that you feel like you have to go easy on. Do this instead. If you're trying to roll really hard that day, right, stagger up your rolling a little bit. So like, let's say you have a black belt on the mat. Go roll with a black belt. Go after them, right? Go roll hard with them, and they'll probably, beat the snot out of you, and they'll wear you out. Perfect. Now, as soon as you're done with that, immediately go find one of the guys that's less experienced than you. One of the guys you can kind of control effectively, at least reliably, right? And then let them put you in whatever terrible position they can. Like let them put you in mount, back mount, side control, whatever it is. Whatever position you really suck at the most, let them put you there over and over and over again, and you escape. And every time you escape, go right back there. Work on your escapes while you're tired, because when you do that, you can't use energy and like your strength or explosiveness to get out of there. A lot of times you start making mistakes, and when you get tired and you make those mistakes, you start to see little holes and chinks in the armor, right? And that'll tell you a little bit about your game to help you prepare for your next tournament. And at the times, it can kick up the anxiety and the stress a little bit, which, again, trying to get into that same sort of mindset for competitions, because you probably don't want to lose to the less experienced people. You want to try to win, and so, or at least try to escape effectively. So again, being in a tired state where you're doing that is pretty helpful, because you're going to work on something you need to work on, and they get to work on what they need to work on, or at least give them a chance to work on something. So Damon, I know I didn't give you a direct, this is what you should do, but again, hopefully I gave you some things to think about with this video for your own training, and you can kind of, again, take it, because ultimately you have to, right? You have to figure out what works for you. And my last suggestion for you for these tournaments would be simply get out there and compete more and more and more, because as you compete more, you'll get better at dealing with this intensity, and you'll get better at channeling it and using it for yourself. So brother, good luck to you in your future competitions, and thanks for the question.